Greetings, fellow brothers in humanity. This is Clinton from Barnes today, and in this video we are going to be doing a response to Kayse Melone's critique of the alleged superiority that modern Western countries have over the Middle East. Now, in her mind, she thinks that her critique is of Christian nations, but what her issue seems to be is with secularized Western countries. Now, it is 100% true that Western nations have a Christian foundation, but many of them are divorced from that Christian foundation and have embraced secularism, which has led to them accepting non-Christian things in their society, for instance, gay marriage and abortion. Now, I currently reside in the Philippines, where abortion is illegal and gay marriage is illegal. That is according to Christian moral principles. So Philippines would still be governed under Christian moral values. That is a Christian nation. Westernized countries, or Western countries, like for instance South Africa, where abortion and gay marriage is legal, or France and the UK, they do not go according to the values of Christianity. So we cannot say that they are Christian nations. Also keep in mind that atheists don't have a clearly defined moral framework. They draw from personal preferences, and the atheist critique of the West usually comes from a lack of exposure to other cultures and societies. So often they find it easy to mock or criticize their own secularized societies, but know very little about other countries, which have led to very bad and often fatal experiences for Westerners with that mindset when traveling to countries like India or the Middle East.
In the wake of yet another looming conflict in the Middle East in which the USA is immorally involving itself, I wanted to take some time to talk about morality. Growing up in the evangelical Christian church in the heartland of the imperial regime, otherwise known as the United States of America,
so her experience with Christianity comes from living in a liberal, secularized country and being raised in a new denomination of Christianity, one that was born from that society and lacks the richness of traditional Christianity.
I, along with thousands of others just like me, was consistently subjected to the narrative of Western civilization's supposed moral supremacy, particularly as a Christian nation. I will be getting into more specifics about the myth of Western supremacy.
A Christian West would be superior to modern, secularized or liberal West. I'm not a fan of the degeneracy and immorality currently plaguing Western nations, but militarily and economically, they are still objectively superior to Middle Eastern nations.
I promise you'll start seeing more narratives about how Western civilization is morally superior, how Muslim countries are more fundamentalist, less developed, less civilized.
I honestly doubt she ever read a book on Christian morality. I would recommend at least looking into Catholic moral teaching by reading the Catechism of the Catholic Church, but only because the Catholic Church is the foundation of Western civilization. She appeals to emotion a lot while complaining about American politics.
As if Christianity hasn't been used for centuries to justify war, colonization, slavery, and genocide.
The last few genocides in the world have been from atheists, from the Chinese to Soviet communists, even the National Socialists in Germany that wanted to replace Christianity with a state propaganda church were secularists. Karl Herrer and Anton Drexler were agnostics that dabbled in the occult, not Christians. They would lean more towards your average neck-bearded atheist than a Christian attending church every Sunday. Even the Strasser brothers claimed Hitler was an atheist.
As if the Bible doesn't have so many instances of God himself, he/him pronouns, clearly telling his followers to enact genocide, to go to war, to commit violence.
Now I found this interesting because a war, for instance, that was waged in the Old Testament was to erase people that committed genocide against babies. And she wouldn't even consider what is being done to unborn babies in the West today as being genocide. This means Christians who consider the humanity of those unborn have a superior standard of morality, which hold all human life to have value.
This is such a convenient distinction for Christians who insist on clinging to this old-ass, dusty-ass book, gone from the Old Testament God to the New Testament God, is that it suggests that now that God, he, him pronouns, is more tame and loving and peaceful.
She keeps complaining about evangelicals and America. So I'll end with this. Christians take marriage and other oaths very seriously. This is why a peace agreement or ceasefire agreement from a Christian holds more weight than that from an atheist, who aren't morally obligated to fulfill an agreement. Jesus is the same God in the Old Testament. In Christianity, he will return to destroy the wicked. So her perception of the differences between the Old and New Testament really seems to lack the understanding of what the New Testament teaches.